Microschedia is an enigmatic fossil. There are problems with both brachiopod and cnidarian interpretations. No other animal group provides a good match for these fossils. Cyclomychosa is widely distributed in Ediacaran strata. It was originally thought to be a jellyfish, but some specimens seem to be distorted to accommodate adjacent specimens on the substrate, apparently indicating a benthic creature. Andromeda was first interpreted as a trace fossil, and has also been considered to represent an agglutinating foraminiferan. However, the organism bears a very superficial resemblance to echinoderms, but it lacks sufficient physical characteristics to ascertain with any degree of certainty whether it is indeed an animal or not. Ernietta lived half buried in sediment and probably fed by osmosis. Cloudina is usually found in association with microbial stromatolites, which are limited to shallow water. Their isotopic composition suggests that water temperatures were relatively cool. Although not the first small shelly fossil to be found, Cloudina is one of the earliest and most abundant. The evolution of external shells in the late Ediacaran is thought to be a defense against predators, marking the start of an evolutionary arms race. Deinonychus was attached to the seafloor by a stalk, and looked loosely like a flower. The cup-shaped body at the top of the stalk probably fed by filtering the surrounding seawater, and may have created a current to facilitate this, such as Scyphus auctum. Armisquia is a genus of large, soft-bodied animals of unknown affinity known from fossils of the Middle Cambrian. Chaunia is a highly significant fossil because it is the first fossil which was ever described to have come from undoubted Precambrian rocks. It was benthic and sessile, anchored to the sea floor. It probably lived in deep waters, well below the wave base, thus placing it out of range of photosynthesis. Porifera or sponges are multicellular organisms that have bodies full of pores and channels allowing water to circulate through them, consisting of jelly-like mesochel sandwiched between two thin layers of cells. They have unspecialized cells that can transform into other types and that often migrate between the main cell layers and the mesochel in the process. Sponges do not have nervous, digestive or circulatory systems. Instead, most rely on maintaining a constant water flow through their bodies to obtain food and oxygen and to remove wastes. Sponges were first to branch off the evolutionary tree from the common ancestor of all animals, making them the sister group of all other animals. Venus's flower basket skeletons have complex geometric configurations, which have been extensively studied for their stiffness and minimal crack propagation. Chondrocladia sponges are stipitate, with a stalk frequently anchored in the substrate by rhizoids and an egg-shaped body, sometimes with branches that end in inflatable spheres. Dickinsonia displayed isometric, indeterminate growth, that is to say, they kept growing until they were covered with sediment or otherwise killed. They spent most of their lives with most of their bodies firmly anchored to the sediment, although they may have moved from resting place to resting place. Contrary to Dickinsonia, Yorgia have a segmented metameric body, but left and right transverse elements are organized in an alternating pattern relatively to the axis of the body. They are not direct mirror images. Like many of the Ediacara biota, The relationship of Sprigina to other groups is unclear. Its superficial resemblance to the trilobites may suggest a close relationship to this class. Or this similarity can be another example of convergent evolution. Tribrachidium was a soft-bodied benthic organism that temporarily attached to the substrate of its habitat. It is preserved as negative impressions on the base of sandstone beds. The position of the ctenophores in the tree of life has long been debated in molecular phylogenetics studies. Biologists proposed that ctenophores constitute the second earliest branching animal lineage with sponges. Sedis is an unusual animal of uncertain affinities and relatively large for the animals of its time. The distal end of the peduncle has two arm-like extensions of unequal length, and a sac-like structure is attached to the peduncle by a short stalk. The body plan of Hemichordates is characterized by a muscular organization. The antero-posterior axis is divided into three parts: the anterior prosome, the intermediate mesosome, and the posterior metasome. Sea pineapples are known for both their peculiar appearance, something that could exist only in a purely hallucinatory ecosystem, and their peculiar taste, described as something like iodine. Predatory tunicate is immediately recognizable by its distinct appearance, bearing a resemblance to a cross between a jellyfish and a Venus flytrap. Its mouth-like hood is quick to close whenever a small animal drifts inside.